Alrighty. Welcome back once again to Sway Skate Podcast. I got my man Miguel. I'll tell you, the last episode we had, it generated some good conversation. I had definitely received a lot of good feedback, phone calls, emails, questions. So definitely thank you for that, because that was great. Uh, for those out there in the audience who don't know, me and Miguel, we go some years back, man. We're like Hector and Willie Colon, or Johnny Pacheco and Fanyastor, or as we say, the purple tape, Raekwon and Ghostface.
Yeah,
So welcome again, welcome, man. What's going on, brother?
man, I'm just you know, just relaxing, keeping my eyes and ears to the street, you know?
As always, how we say, keep your head on the swivel.
Yeah.
So this episode, there was a topic that's been going on circulating in social media for quite some time. And this one is Latinos and hip hop. And there's been a lot of debate going on, or where Latinos, specifically Puerto Ricans, where we stand as far as contribution or founders or whatever that nature. There's been one side of the debate saying 50-50. That was like Busta Rhymes saying that, Spike Lee, Dr. Eric, Michael Dyson, a bunch of other celebrities. LL Cool J was also saying that, but there's on the flip side, there's others that say, nah, y'all was just on the sidelines looking at Black American culture. Y'all assimilating to our culture and y'all copying us. So there's an ongoing debate, and you're here, you need perspectives from Latinos, and you hear from everybody that's hip hop lovers of hip hop culture. So obviously, I definitely want to dig a little deeper from our perspective and give our 2 cents and see where this conversation takes us. So obviously, so beginning with that, uh, in your love for the culture, in your belief, how do you believe hip hop culture actually started?
Well, I mean, let me start off by saying that I've heard a lot of those conversations, right? And what I've realized is that the majority of people that say, the what you call the flip side type of nonsense, generally those are people that grew up outside of metropolitan New York City area. Okay, because there is no argument that hip hop started and was created in metropolitan New York City. Okay, meaning inner city New York. And so the majority of people that I hear talk that nonsense about us jacking somebody else's culture or whatever the case may be, those are people that really weren't there. Like they really didn't grow up in the inner cities, the inner city New York at the time that this was going on. Some of them voices I've heard, they might have been from like the outskirts of New York or from suburbs of New York City, but they weren't, from where hip hop was actually being created. Um, Secondarily, anybody that says anything remotely close to that, meaning the nonsense that Puerto Ricans, are from the outside looking in, you know, they actually don't know how hip hop was created. You know what I'm saying? Because if you ask the people that actually created hip hop that were there from its inception, they know that it was all of us together. Why? Because we all lived it. At the time when hip hop was created, the Bronx was, had the highest population of Puerto Ricans in the United States of America. That's number one. The majority of people that lived in the Bronx were Puerto Rican at that time. Now there's been an influx of Dominicans, more Jamaicans, more Cubans, more of everybody else. But at that time, it was predominantly Puerto Rican, especially the South Bronx, where hip hop was created. You know, those were neighborhoods that we lived in. Those were neighborhoods that we were the majority. You know what I'm saying? But just because the names of the rappers that they see that made hip hop popular were in Puerto Rican names, they try to disregard, you know, who was actually living there during its inception. You know, and that says a lot to the culture itself. Because when you know who's living in an area, right? What's it made up of? What cultures, then you know who was there from the beginning. You know, when you come outside, who's out there breakdancing? When you come outside, who's out there, you know, bombing the trains with graffiti? Who's going borough to borough, you know, bombing the city with graffiti? You know, the majority of these people were Puerto Rican. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of that conversation that Puerto Ricans are not a part of the culture only came about when rap became popular all over the United States. You know what I'm saying? Because in a place where rap is popular, they might not, just because they have rap doesn't mean that they have hip hop. You know what I'm saying? Because rap is the baby of hip hop. Rap is the part of hip hop that came out last, you know? And not only that, it was music. So since it was music via radio, via television, music videos, you know, rap was able to spread like wildfire throughout the US. That don't mean that graffiti, breakdancing, DJing, you know, went with it. You know what I'm saying? So now what you have is a mutation of what we called hip hop, and they only looking at the rap aspect of it, and they're embracing it as if that is hip hop. Even though hip hop is a style, hip hop is a culture from a particular area. You know, because like if you went to Atlanta, you had what they called you know, crunk. You know, if you went to South Florida, you had a different style, which was that what was their name back in the day?
Talking about like
The
Cypress Hill.
Nah, Florida, the group that got banned.
Florida. Talking about Two Live Crew.
Yeah, like them. You know, you had that strip club ass shaking type of music. You know what I'm saying? But even though they were rapping, that was not hip hop. You understand what I'm saying? Like hip hop had a few things that had to come with it. It was a style. It was in the way you walk, the way you talk, the way you dress. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
But
I think like those other subgenres that came out, like the Two Live Crew and the Crunk and whatever else on the West Coast. I think those were definitely branches of the root of hip hop. You know, I think those actually it can stem from the actual origin of the actual foundation of that music.
yeah, well, it was different though. It's
Wait,
not.
yeah, different, but yeah,
It's
definitely
not
different.
hip hop.
But
You know
but
what
it
I'm
but
saying?
it but it's almost like tribalism. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but
Where the music in that area is going to be more garnered around that environment.
right.
So
Okay. It's sort of like this. If we in Europe, right, and you have a singer that starts rhyming, right, but they do it with ballet.
Mhm.
Does that make it hip hop? You think what I'm saying? Ballet is a form of dance, you know, just like crumping. You know what I'm saying? It's all a form of dancing, but does that make it hip hop? You understand? Hip hop is a real thing. You know what I'm saying? But it's like because of the rap aspect of it, everybody started attaching all these different things to it, even though that's not what it was. You know what I'm saying? And from what it's mutated to today, and I feel like I can speak on this because, you know, back in the 80s, you know, the early 80s, you know, like I said, me and my little cousin Joel, we was going to the Port Authority on 42nd Street, knowing that there was a lot of people around there, knowing that there was a lot of tourists. And my man, we would be breakdancing for quarters. You know what I'm saying? We weren't rapping, but we were breakdancing for quarters. But that was a part of our culture because we was from the streets of New York. You know what I'm saying? That's what hip hop was. You know, and then with the older cats, that same thing got elevated to competition. And that competition developed teams, you know, and those teams would go around the city doing their thing. You know, just like you had crews that were breakdancers, you had crews that were graffiti artists, you know what I'm saying? You had teams of DJs, you know, and then you had cats that would go projects to projects battling with the rap. You
You
know what
know
I'm
what?
saying?
You know what? One of the things that one of the conversations I had with folks and was the word black. When they say Black Americans, foundational Black Americans, and I always question. I said, well, what does that mean, black? And they'll give me their definition, and then I go and be like, hey, well, you know, Caribbean, whether it be the Afro-Cuban, Puerto Rican, their roots are garnered in African bloodline. So black is also considered from those Caribbean islands. And that was a different conversation than went left. And it was like, no, y'all consider Spaniard, I consider white, I consider this. And like, no, my man. I said, it's
I
in our
mean,
blood.
but those
I
are
said, yeah, I know, but
yeah,
that's what I'm saying. They drop these bricks of ignorance on top of each other, and then
yeah.
obviously our job is try to use our tactics to try to combat this ignorance.
Well, generally, like I said, that's their ignorance. You know what I'm saying? Because if we keep it to hip hop itself, okay, we know that one, hip hop is not contained to any color of skin.
Amen.
Okay, it's definitely not contained to any particular national culture or
Absolutely,
identity, but American. We're
absolutely,
talking about, you know, from the inception. You know what I'm saying? Because New York City has always been, you know, the epitome of an immigrant city. You know, it's a melting pot of many nationalities, many cultures that form one. You could go there today, and you're gonna find people from everywhere. Matter of fact, here's a great example, right? The immigrants that people were complaining about today that came to New York City from Texas, right? A lot of Venezuelans, a lot of Guatemalans, El Salvadorians, Mexicans, right? If you see the second generation of them, right, that actually assimilated to New York culture, like my man, other than their physical features, you can't tell that they're not from New York.
So you just said something that kind of triggered when it comes to our cultural roots, the folks that came from the first immigrants that came from Puerto Rico after we got citizenship, and then the second generation up until now, and not only Puerto Rico, all the other Caribbean.
Yeah.
From the household culture is different from a street culture. So a lot of individuals think that they brought up or they invented or they or are the origins of street culture. And I was like, no, my man. I said, we have a bunch of ingredients going to a pot. And you said it perfectly fine. I mean, it was right on the money when it was just everyone included in the inception. And that's really the gist of the conversation. It's just like, yo, it's just more than Latinos. It's more
Of
than the
course.
African American community. Like one of the elements you brought up, graffiti. Graffiti, uh, one of the founders that they have out there is called Cornbread, based out of Philly. And he started doing it in 1965 when he was about 12 years old, when he was at a juvenile detention. Right, 65. So he gets this crown, push it. Hey, much respect because you are considered a pioneer and you push the culture forward. I don't think he's actually the first one. In one of the interviews he had, he's saying that he was looking at gang culture, looking at gang writings, and that he'll see a name and then he'll write his name right next to it, but much bigger. That indicates that obviously that person was not the first graffiti artist. There's another story with Tracy 168, which is a white guy. I think he started like in 1969. He says a story that he's at I think it was in the Bronx, but he's taking a cab somewhere and he's noticing an original artwork from the Latin Kings in 1965, and he remembered because that was the year, the time frame that the Malcolm X died. So more information that's coming out that it it's everywhere. Like you have so many pockets that you can actually extrapolate information for the origin of hip hop, whether it be social economic decline in our inner cities, black and brown, where you had the Young Lords, where you had the Black Panthers, even Mexicans. I mean, it's just a lot of things that's going up, and then you have the artwork itself. 1920s, you had the Mexican American muralism. That's like a precursor to graffiti, but no one wants to talk about that. And I'm just like, hey, this is just more than just Latinos. This is a global phenomenon that started in them barrios in the hood from
Right,
black and brown. Period.
right. I mean, you gotta understand that. I mean, not you, but the voices that speak contrary to that is that look, during the 60s, right, we had a movement. And that movement was freedom of expression. Okay, that was going on heavy in the United States. All right. And this was based upon, our fundamental First Amendment rights. Freedom to express yourself, whether it be through religion, whether it be through your freedom of speech, like that was what people in the United States of America wanted to make sure that we were known for, was freely expressing ourselves. You know what I'm saying? And hip hop and that whole group, that whole generation that started that came from that energy. You know what I'm saying?
Wholeheartedly agree.
And so, but these are things that are not bound by no color.
None.
Because then if you bind it to a color, what you gonna say then? That Jimi Hendrix should have never been playing the guitar? Even though he was one of the best that ever did it and got away with it? You know what I'm saying? That was for them, not for any of us. You know what I'm saying? That he wasn't, one of the foundationalists of that rock music. You know what I'm saying? Just because he's black. You know what I'm saying? Like, nah, don't go like that. What it goes is that there's a thing called human expression. You know what I'm saying? And whoever does it the best gets acknowledged and gets recognized. Whoever puts in that work, it don't matter what color you are. You know what I'm saying? But when it comes to who was there actually in the inception of this thing that we call hip hop, we got to go back to, who lived there? You know what I'm saying? Who was there? What was the community made up of? Then we speak to the people who were there. And when we speak to the people who were there, we already know what it is. You know what I'm saying? Because you're going to have people like Crazy Legs, DJ Charlie Chase. You know what I'm saying? You're going to have all these Puerto Rican people that were there in the beginning speaking on what was going on. You know what I'm saying? When you see Wild Style, the movie, how many Puerto Ricans are in that movie? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, come on. Like, for me, like, that's not even an argument. And if people are arguing that, is because they trying to get a rise out of somebody and they trying to get likes, views, and clicks. You know what I'm saying? But there ain't no way that you can even mention anything moving in New York City, and it doesn't involve the Puerto Ricans. You know, and I want to mention one other part of it too that a lot of people overlook. Okay, that hip hop turned into a flashy competition. Okay, once there was some type of money to be gained out of this thing. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of them wanted to have street credibility. You know what I'm saying? Where your name rang bell. And in order for you in New York City throughout the 70s, 80s, 90s to have any form of credibility in the street, you know, you were supposed to be getting some street money. You know what I'm saying? Because rapping wasn't that lucrative.
Yeah, or joining a gang back then.
Yeah, that too. And not for nothing, like, listen, when they came to the streets, when they came to Rikers Island, back in them days, you understand? Like, wasn't nothing moving if you wasn't down with the Latinos. Wasn't nothing moving. You know what I'm saying? We had the kilos of cocaine. We had the muscle. We had the all-out soldiers that were cutting people up with razor blades and all of that. You know, fighting people with knives in the street. It's not to say that, you know, African Americans wasn't there too, because they were. But you cannot dismiss that we were there on the front lines. There's pictures. It's documented. You know what I'm saying? The leaders of these big gangs in a lot of these neighborhoods were Puerto Ricans, were Cubans. You understand? So it's like there's no dismissing that particular entity in the culture. And the thing is that when we were all in the mix, not for nothing, we only having this conversation of separation now because other people are making it that. But the reality is we didn't see each other any different than, you know, two motherfuckers that grew up in the street together. You know what I'm saying? Whether they were black, brown, white, whatever. If you had heart, you understand? You had heart and you were going to hold me down, then it's me and you with our backs against the wall, banging it out. You know what I'm saying?
No doubt. What would you say to the folks that say that back then that Puerto Ricans was saying that their early hip hop music was considered jungle music, and those Puerto Ricans, Latinos was racist?
Well, I mean, the reality is that there's racism in every culture. That's number one. There's black people that are racist. There's Latinos that are racist. There's white people that are racist. You understand? But for those of us from the street, okay, and what I mean by the street is that we not on the porch watching from a distance. You know what I'm saying? We in the mix. Yo, none of that mattered. Like, none of that mattered. You know, our little crew had all types of colors. You know?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it didn't matter, you know? And so, you know, anybody can get it and anybody can be down as long as, you know, you was down for the cause.
Absolutely. I wholeheartedly agree with those sentiments. Or I was explaining to someone about that same question I asked was at that same time frame. I said, you even had Black American parents that was against the movement. They was against the graffiti. They was against b-boying. It was the same thing. You know, some Puerto Ricans, older Puerto Ricans, were against it too because they came from the island. This was new to them. Of course, they don't know it. They was going to dismiss it. But KRS once said it perfectly fine. He said it was a special type of folks. It wasn't all Puerto Ricans. It wasn't all Dominicans. It wasn't all Latinos. It was a special type of folks that was co-mingling with black and brown. Those are the ones that actually were the founders. It's not every New Yorican, but there was a special bond between them, whether it be the gangs, whether like you say get money, whether it was the DJing, graffiti, whatever it was, there was a certain bond that they had that created this culture out of desperation, out of survival, out of one thing that's been missing lately. And the earlier founders were really, really adamant about it, was unity.
Today, people want to downplay the Latino role in hip hop. Yep. They are so stupid. Yep. Really? Hip hop would not have existed without specifically Puerto Rican. Specifically, Cubans were here, Haitians were here, Dominican Republic was here, everybody was here. All of South America been in the Bronx, okay? But Puerto Ricans in particular sided with the black folk here, and the Jamaicans were coming in as well. And this group of Puerto Ricans, Jamaicans, and American blacks made hip hop. Not American blacks, not Puerto Rican, not Jamaican. All of them made the culture.
Without question. Let me tell you something. You see, hip hop culture, really embraces revolutionary culture. You know what I'm saying? And the foundation of revolutionary thinking is the utopia, you understand, of all of us in the struggle uniting as one. You think what I'm saying? So it's different. Even now, let me give you a perfect example. And this is in this day and age, right? You can have Puerto Ricans and Dominicans, because those are the ones that I'm familiar with the most, right? That are part of the church. You understand? And these are our own people, okay? And if they see that you are on anything what they call secular outside of what they got going on, you understand? They don't want no part of you. They don't want no part of you. You dig? So like people that went to jail, committed crimes, you know what I'm saying? There are hardcore people in those churches with hardcore ideals, okay, that are not accepting of their own people. Never mind people outside of their culture, of their own people, just because they're in the street. Just because they're involved with something other than. You know what I'm saying? But, that's the reality that we deal with. There's times that there's people that I'm involved with that they're so judgmental that I can't discuss certain aspects of my life, because it might prejudice, other people in my family. You know what I'm saying? But me personally, I feel like, look, I'm a part of the revolutionary mind frame. You don't accept me for me, then guess what? For lack of better words. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, you don't accept me for me, then we don't have too much in common. You understand? Because you don't understand that character, fortitude, integrity, all of that is built and fortified through fire. You understand? It's through the fire that you walk through, okay, that it makes you into a hard diamond, man, something so valuable that can't be compared to other things. You know what I'm saying? So it's like if people can't appreciate that, can't appreciate your struggle, your walk, then maybe you should reconsider being amongst them. You know what I'm saying? Because there are groups of people that will embrace you. There are groups of people that will appreciate that because your struggle gives them strength. You know what I'm saying? Your character helps them build their character. It's like it's an old Japanese saying amongst the samurais that iron sharpens iron. You know what I'm saying? And so for me, that's the school of thought that I come from. And if people can't appreciate that, then that means that they have ulterior motives in terms of what they're trying to really get out of this. Because if you're not of that and you see something wrong with that, then something's wrong with you. You know what I'm saying?
To be honest, when I started hearing this debate, it stunned me. I was shocked to the core. I ain't never heard this coming up Never heard this. Never heard this debate coming up. It was just one culture that we all embrace and we all love because it was just the way we lived it.
My man, listen, me and you have been to house parties in many different states.
Absolutely.
How many house parties have you been to, right? Where you walk in and the music playing, one minute they playing who was that back in the day? 1 minute they playing Buju, the next minute they playing El General. You know what I'm saying? The next minute they playing somebody else. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, come on. You see, and then who you see dancing in the party? Every color, every culture under the sun. You know what I'm saying? And it's all love, you know, until somebody gets shot. But
Yeah, that's a different conversation right there. Everybody's out.
yeah. Oh man.
That shit. But yeah, man, that you said it perfectly right on the money with it. Like I said, man, this conversation been going, it's been brewing. So I just hope you folks just knock it off, man. They really adamant. They so focused on the division. And this is just ridiculous, man. This is certain tools that certain groups use to divide and conquer. They see that this
Oh
culture
man.
was making money. They see that they was taking poor kids and making them multi-billionaires, multi-millionaires, and then providing for their family, providing back to the communities. And then now y'all want to come talking about, oh, this is ours. And like for a good example, b-boying, right?
Yeah.
There was always discussion that some of the origins came from early Black Americans. James Brown considered a godfather. I'm not going to contest that right now, but what I will say this: I said there was a particular time where the earlier b-boys or rockers they didn't want to mess with it no more, right? Just facts. The African community they didn't want to mess with it no more, and who picked it up, or who I should I say who never let go because we had it in our hands was Puerto Rocks. You know what I'm saying? Crazy Leg took it to a phenomenon. He brought it to a global level that I think earlier this year was what at the Olympics. B-boy. That's crazy. Our daggone art form from that was born in the Bronx came out to this global.
Yeah, but to be honest
It's
with you,
crazy.
my man gotta go back and be a judge or something, because
Yeah, it was bad.
a black guy that didn't even know how to break dance won the award.
Oh yeah, I seen that.
He won the gold medal. And she looked crazy out there, bro. I was like,
she did.
she was wilding.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
anyway,
But I'm definitely talking about from bringing the artwork from the slums into a global recognition.
you wanna know what's funny?
That's Boricuas.
You wanna know what's funny?
What up?
What ironic? My man, look, you could go back to as far as, let me see, maybe 92, I think, maybe 93. You know what I'm saying? And to this day, I still get the same haircut, right? That DJ A Juice used to give me.
Shout out A Juice. Yeah.
Puerto Rican DJ.
Yeah.
That was a barber. You know what I'm saying? Like, but I'm just saying it to say that, like, we can't give people credibility, right? That are speaking from a perspective and they weren't even there. You know what I'm saying? Like they're trying to have some type of credibility in something that they were not a part of. They did not witness. You know what I'm saying? Because you don't see Slick Rick, you don't see DJ Kool Herc, you don't see LL Cool J as part of this membership of these so-called, what do you call them, FBAs or whatever the hell they are? FBA. You know, trying to come up and make right. The people that were originally there are not a part of this group. So I don't understand how they've gained any level of credibility to say anything about anybody. they could even be saying, you know, oh, that's not black music, so black people shouldn't be a part of it. You know what I'm saying? Like, they could be saying anything they want, but whatever they are saying, they have no credibility to voice those historical accounts on anybody because they were not there. They don't have any validity in what they're saying. They did not witness it. They're not a part of that. You know what I'm saying? That's not their life. They're not us. You know what I'm saying? So in order to speak for us, they have to be one of us. And I don't mean Puerto Rican, they have to be from hip hop. You know what I'm saying? They have to be from hip hop. And if they're not from us, they can't speak for us.
No doubt. I think one of the things too that I noticed is that certain groups try to go out and get in the front and bang the chest and be like, yo, I'm the first one this, I'm the first one that, I'm the first one this. And then when you start really do some research, you're like, nah, you not the first. You might be a first generation, but you're not the first. You know what I'm saying? So that needs to stop and really open up the door for acknowledging other pioneers, regardless of their race, creed, or beliefs. Give those other folks, like I said,
No, but they can't do that. They can't do that. What you just said.
Yeah, I know they can't.
Right,
I know they can't. They need to. I know they can't.
They can't do that because if they attempt to do that, then what it does is it removes the veil of falsehood.
Yep.
From, you know, that they're perpetuating as truth. You know what I'm saying? So they can't do that. That erases them from the books.
You're absolutely right. The documentary called Style Wars. That's a beautiful depiction of graffiti and b-boy and hip hop at that early stage. I think it was like in '82. But when you look at it, you see some white folks up in there, you see some brown, you see some African Americans. Multi-dimensional, man. So I need to knock that stuff off, man. This is hip hop, man. One love, one unity. So for the sake of time, man, I'm gonna cut this one right here. Miguel, last words. What you got?
Nothing. I mean, look, you know, like I said, you know, we already know what it is. For me, there's no argument, you know, for anybody because I already know what it is. And if anybody says anything contrary to that, then you already know what their makeup is. You know, their makeup is false, it's fake, you know? So, you know, we know what it is when it comes to hip hop, you know, and that's it. You know, on another note, you might want to check out this kid, King Tut. You ever heard of him?
Yeah.
Pick-up kid out of East New York, man. And I know that's his claim to fame, but this kid, you know, this man, you know, he's out there and he's got a little platform, his own platform. And because he's going against the norm, he's not jacking anybody else's platform, you know, people are trying to like shit on what he's doing because he's creating his own platform with his wife. But the content is amazing.
So
it's amazing because it's all real and it's all going back to those days, man, in the 80s. And you know, he was not no rapper, but he was on that other side of things where he was a true street legend. And the people that he's talking to in his videos, you know, they're giving true life accounts of what it was back then and what was the mind frame back then and how it's changed today, of course, you know, for the sake of humanity and the sake of our communities. But, you know, it's 100% authentic, man. And I think you would appreciate it and anybody listening as well.
Definitely. Check that out. So once again, much love, Miguel. We
Always.
out. Y'all understand? Keep this in mind. Hip hop, one love, one blood. Peace.